Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's Beth here and I'm with FABRIZIO Romano. He's here to give us some important updates regarding Manchester United, January transfers, ins and outs. We're going to get into it all today. But first of all, FABRIZIO, how are you today?
Hey, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you again for the invitation. All good and ready to answer your questions.
It's okay, we love having you on. But getting straight into it, I saw a tweet before from Samuel Luckhurst that kind of was saying that Rangnick has been in talks with Erling Haaland's father about the possibility of him moving to Manchester United. First of all, is this true? Have they been in contact? And would it be Rangnick's priority to kind of get Haaland to Manchester United? And how hard will that be for Manchester United to do in the summer, considering all the top clubs that are going after Haaland this summer?
Yes, first of all, I respect Samuel. He's a great journalist, so I'm not going to say if what he says is true or not. But I can say that according to my information, is not going to be easy for Man United to sign Erling Haaland. So we are not at this advanced stage. This is what I want to say. Of course, there is something between Rangnick and Haaland family because he was at Red Bull Group when they signed him for Red Bull Salzburg. So Haaland has always been part of Rangnick radar, and is something that we know. But at the same point, nothing will be decided by Ralf Rangnick or by Haaland, Mino Raiola, and the whole team Haaland right now. So it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's not something that will be decided right now. And I said that it's not going to be easy for Manchester United because we know how is the relationship with Mino Raiola. There is not a problem, but what happened with Pogba, of course, affected the situation between Raiola and Man United. Many clubs will be in the race, from England, from Spain, from many countries, and so nothing is decided, and we are not at the stage of the season. So I think we have to wait like for March, April to see what Erling Haaland wants to do and which club will be the front runner. So at the moment, from a United, how you can have an interest in Erling Haaland is normal. How Ralf Rangnick in particular, because he knows the player so well, he knows the family so well, but at the same point is not something that right now is going like to advance or to progress for Man United.
Yeah, that's understandable. Obviously, there's a lot of clubs that are going to be going after him, and we know our relationship with Mino Raiola isn't the best. But moving forward into the midfield area, I mean, there's talks that AC Milan are kind of in talks to get Kamara from Marseille, and they have Kessie at the moment, who is going to be out of contract. First of all, Kamara is kind of hot property at the moment because he is a player that's going to be out of contract, and he kind of looks like a really great young midfielder, and a lot of teams are after him. And there's talks that Ralf Rangnick is also in that race to possibly sign Kamara. He would like to use him in the 2-2 formation that he kind of goes with. So would Manchester United be after Kamara, also Kessie, because he's coming to the end of his contract? And is a midfielder our priority in the January transfer window?
Yes, talking about Kessie, I don't see him leaving Milan in January. Maybe he'll leave AC Milan in June as free agent, but not in January. So at the moment, the plan from AC Milan is so clear. They will try again to extend his contract. If not possible, he will leave the club as free agent. There could be a possibility for English clubs, for Paris Saint-Germain. So it would be an interesting opportunity, but not for January. Talking about Kamara, basically the same situation. He has no agreement with Marseille to sign a new contract. But for January, it could be an opportunity. We said also last time about Man United that they are scouting him as many other players. So now I see many rumors for the midfielder. And I want to say is not only Kamara. So they have some names in mind for this position. It's a possibility that Man United will go for a defensive midfielder in January. When I say defensive midfielder, I say a physical midfielder like Kamara or many others that they could have in the list. But it's not a creative midfielder like Frankie de Jong. I always see this kind of rumors, and Man United fans are asking me about de Jong. I don't see de Jong joining Man United in January as things stand. So from what I'm told, at the moment, there is nothing with Barcelona and nothing with his agents. But for this position, defensive midfielder, Manchester United are looking for opportunities for January. So I will keep an eye on this position. Yes, I can't say I'm 100% sure they're going to sign this player because it depends on the opportunities, on players leaving the club in January. So January transfer market is always like this. It's like a domino. So you need to find the right solution to do it. But defensive midfielder is the position where Manchester United are focusing for the window.
Would you say there's any particular targets that we really are focusing on January, or is there just quite a few options that Manchester United are still weighing up on what to go for?
No, I'm told that they are still considering options. They have not made a decision about the player they 100% want, and I think it's normal because Rangnick arrived just a few weeks ago, and so he needs to decide together with the board. So they will take some time to decide who is the right player to be the next defensive midfielder for Manchester United. I don't expect something big, to be honest. When I say big, it's like spending 60 or 70 million for players like Declan Rice. They wanted this kind of player in the summer, but then at the end they decided to go for Ronaldo, and so this is why Camavinga is not at Man United, but he was the first option. This is why for Declan Rice it was impossible to negotiate with West Ham. I don't expect this kind of move for January. I would look at opportunities. So you mentioned Kamara, this kind of player. I don't know if it would be Kamara because, as I say, at the moment is not advanced yet. It's interest and looking at the player, but nothing else. I will look at this kind of player, defensive midfielder, physical player, but opportunity, not a player for 50 or 60 million.
Yeah, I completely understand that. We've seen with Rangnick, he likes to buy players that kind of at a cheaper option and then build them into a great midfielder. And I think that is kind of the route that we're going to be going down. But last night there were reports stating that Lazio are ready to kind of let Milinkovic-Savic go this summer, and he could possibly be a replacement for Paul Pogba. I mean, this name has been linked to Manchester United before. A lot of names get linked to Manchester United. For me personally, I don't think it's a massive link. But is there something there? Is it true that Pogba is leaving? We're looking for a replacement. Is Milinkovic-Savic someone that's high up on our list? And is it a possibility that we could get that deal done?
For Milinkovic-Savic, as you mentioned, we have links with Man United since I think 7 or 8 years. So when he has some problem with Lazio, it's immediately with Italian journalists saying that he's going to Man United. But I'm told that at the moment there is absolutely nothing between Man United and Milinkovic. He's a player that, of course, Man United have always had in their link, and Rangnick too, because we're talking about a very good midfielder, but they never made any proposal. They are not negotiating for Milinkovic, also because at the moment the situation is still under control with Lazio. So we have a lot of rumors, but there is nothing going on at this point. He could be an interesting player for this position, yes, I could say, because he's kind of Pogba kind of midfielder. So he's a physical midfielder, but so technical player, creative player. So it would be interesting to see him in Premier League. But at the moment, if we have to talk about what's going on right now, there is nothing for Milinkovic to Man United. We will see in the summer. But for sure, Man United, if Pogba will decide to leave the club as free agent, they will go for a player in the position. They will go for a creative midfielder. And so I'm curious to see what happens. I will keep an eye also, as I always said, on Tielemans, not just for Man United, but for many clubs, many top clubs, Man United included, if Pogba will go, because Tielemans is not extending at the moment his contract with Leicester, and so it could be an opportunity in the summer. So many clubs are keeping tabs on Tielemans, and it could be one of the interesting names for summer 2022.
Yeah, Tielemans for me is such a good midfielder. Every time I see him play for Leicester, obviously there's been links with Manchester United in the past. I think he would be a great signing. And Milinkovic-Savic, he is one of them players that continuously gets links to us, but you never know. Something could happen in the summer. We'll have to wait and see. Another name that has been linked to us, but again, I'm a little bit dubious over whether the fact we're actually going to go to him, because, you know, Manchester United does get linked with a lot of players. But Manchester United are reportedly interested in Argentine striker Julian Alvarez. Is this a move that is developing? Obviously, a lot of top clubs have been following him. He's a young player. He's fresh on the scene, and a lot of clubs are reportedly interested in him. Manchester United apparently leading the race, but is that someone that we could possibly go for in January, in summer, especially if Cavani and Martial are wanting to leave Manchester United? It could be a great option for Manchester United to go for a cheap option and kind of build him into a great striker.
No, from what I'm told, for this player, the news is coming from Manchester United sending one of their scouts to watch this boy, because one of Manchester United scouts was in Argentina to watch this boy with River Plate. He's doing amazing, and so this is why the news is everywhere now. I'm told that at the moment there are no proposal or negotiation, also because there is a release clause, so they don't need to negotiate. They just need to pay the clause and then negotiate with the player. But at the moment, they're not at this stage. They sent a scout, and it's normal for top clubs to watch top players. And Julian Alvarez is maybe the best player in South America right now, talking about young talents. And so they sent a scout, but they are not negotiating. And for this boy, I think is very particular, because every single week we have a different rumor. We heard of Real Madrid, we heard of Barcelona, we heard of AC Milan, of Juventus, Inter. Every single week is another club. So it's normal, because he's a fantastic talent. but at the moment, he's still not at this stage. So scouting, normal, but Man United scout hundreds of players every single year, so it's absolutely normal for top clubs, but at the moment, it's not at the stage of signing new striker. Also because, as you mentioned, they have Edinson Cavani. Let's see what happens with Martial. They have Amad Diallo, who was a young signing, but he's not playing because he needs some time to develop. And of course, they have the big stars from Greenwood to Sancho, Ronaldo, many others, so Rashford. So it's going to be difficult, I think, to go for this kind of player because this kind of players wants to play. They want to play when they move to Europe. And so it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Obviously, Manchester United does get linked to a lot of the top players, and another player that's we've been linked to massively, I think it's because of the Rangnick link as well, is Haidara from RB Leipzig. We spoke about this before, and he's expressed his interest in Manchester United, but he's also said that he's focusing on RB Leipzig and he wants to finish the season with them. Is that a player that is on United's list as a midfield option? I mean, we've heard massive links to him. We know Ralph Rangnick likes him as a player. Is that someone that Manchester United could definitely be going in for? Considering his price tag as well, he's not around the 70 million mark. You could get him for a reasonable price. Is that someone that we are looking at?
Yes, he's one of the players that, as we mentioned already, is appreciated by Ralph Rangnick. He knows him, of course, so he was part of, and he's part of the Red Bull group, so Ralph Rangnick knows him so well. When we mention opportunities, Haidara could be an opportunity together with Kamara, but it's not just these two names. This is what I want to say. I think there will be other names for Man United in this position. So no decision has been made yet. Of course, it's a player that Rangnick knows, and so it could be an opportunity. Also because in January, it's not like a signing in June or in July. You have time to adapt to a new league, to a new team. You need to be ready, and Haidara is a player that knows Rangnick, so it could be something in his favor. But from what I'm told, as of now, there are no negotiation for him, no negotiation. So when you talk about interest, it's something that is normal for this player, thanks to Ralph Rangnick and his relationship with him. But at the moment, talking about negotiation is not something advanced. I think Man United are not going to negotiate with 2 or 3 or 5 different players. They have interest for many players in this position, but they will go for one single player negotiation when they will be 100% convinced of who is the name. But I'm sure that in the coming hours, in the coming days, they will have many other names in the list for that position.
Hopefully we'll have you on the show when that decision gets made and we can kind of get into that decision then. Moving on to outgoings, Edinson Cavani's been in the news recently, apparently close to joining Barcelona, then apparently the deal cooled off. We know that he does want out of Manchester United. He doesn't feel like he's getting the game time. Is that a move that could happen in January, or are Manchester United looking to keep him on as a striker to make sure that we have enough depth to finish the season? So we know obviously he will be leaving in the summer anyway, but could he actually kind of push his move to January, and could we be without Edinson Cavani going into the second half of the season?
No, there is an important point to clarify on this Cavani story because I see a lot of reports from Spain and different countries, but to sign a player who is under contract, you need to find an agreement with Man United. He's not a free agent. Cavani will be a free agent potentially next summer, but he's not a free agent right now. And so I think Man United deserves some respect in this story because we have reports like if Cavani is free agent. It's true that Barcelona have an interest in Cavani. They wanted him also on deadline day last summer. So he's always been a player in Barcelona list. They have an interest in him. They had contacts with people around Cavani, but they never contacted Man United to start a negotiation. So it's true that Cavani is not a young player, so maybe you can hope to have him for a small fee and nothing enormous. But at the same point, you have to respect Man United and to negotiate with Man United. And at the moment, there are no negotiations from what I told between Barcelona and Manchester United. Man United still think that Edinson Cavani is an important player, that this season, with this COVID situation, with 3 different competitions, with Man United will need to fight for Champions League place, for Champions League clash with Atletico. And in all competitions, they will need players. And if Martial leaves, I don't see Man United allowing Amad, Martial, and Cavani, all of them leaving. It will make no sense. So if Barcelona want Cavani, they will need to make a proposal to Man United. At the moment, we are not at this stage. We are at the stage of interest from Barcelona, but Man United have received nothing from Barcelona. So could happen, yes, but is in the process? No, at the moment, no.
Exactly, because if you look at it, Martial and Cavani leaving, that kind of does leave you without 2 important strikers. I mean, if there's injuries going into different competitions, I'm sure Manchester United wouldn't let 2 strikers leave without bringing someone in. And speaking about Martial and his possible exit from Manchester United, there's been links to Juventus. There's also been links to Barcelona. Is Martial on the edge of a move? Do you think he will move in January? And what kind of is the latest over his transfer story about leaving in January of Manchester United?
Yes, this is what he wants. He wants to play. He wants to have his game time. So I think it's something we can understand and respect. At the same point, as we always say, the salary is the point. So at the moment, we have a lot of links. It's true that Juventus are looking for a striker, but at the moment, they have made still no contact with Martial. So maybe, let's see what happens. Maybe the next weeks could be an opportunity because they are looking for this kind of player for a striker. We have links also with Sevilla. For Barcelona, I think if they will complete the signing of Ferran Torres, will be difficult to sign also Anthony Martial in January because of budget, because of money. So this is why it's not going to be super easy. Let's see. I'm sure that they will look for solutions. His agent is working on this. At the moment, he's not advanced with any club, but the plan of the player is so clear. He wants to go. He wants to leave. He wants to play. He's respecting Man United, but I think at some point, some player wants to feel important for the club, and this is why he wants to take his time and make a decision in the coming weeks.
Exactly, and with the amount of strikers that are looking to leave Manchester United at the moment, surely we will be looking at one either in January. You have the options like Alvarez in January, but also in summer. And knowing that Haaland is going to be such a difficult target for us to go for, do you see Manchester United kind of going all out for Erling Haaland, or will we be looking at, for example, Vlahovic, who is Fiorentina's striker right now? He seems to be a striker that's really in the news, doing really well. He's close to breaking Ronaldo's record. He seems to be a great striker to go for. And Manchester United focused on getting a striker, and what are the options for them regarding the striker role? Because surely we will be going for one considering the amount that we're going to lose.
Yes, I think it will depend on Cavani. If Cavani will leave the club at the end of the season, on Martial same. So they will need to make decisions. At the moment, from what I'm told, they have still no exact idea of what they want to do with the striker. So it will depend also on the manager. I think the manager will be so important to understand who will be the player, because when you sign a striker, when you spend a lot of money, you have to be 100% convinced that this player is perfect for the manager you're going to have. So let's see if Rangnick will stay or if he will be just part of the board as consultant, and so they will go for another manager who needs a different kind of striker. So for example, Ten Hag likes one kind of striker, Pochettino is different. So, of course, when we talk about Haaland, I think every single manager in the world would be happy with him. But if you have to make a strategy, you have to take your time. And so I'm sure that Man United will not decide right now what kind of striker they want to sign. It's a possibility for them to sign a striker in the summer, yes, but it's something that it will not decide in December or January what player they will sign, what kind of player they will sign, because they will take their time with the manager and then they will jump into the striker situation. For Dusan Vlahovic, I think it's not going to be easy for United. This is my feeling. Also because he wants to feel important in the next club where he will go. And Man United have Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, you maybe can say they can play together. Okay, but when you have Cristiano, for a young striker, maybe it's better to look at a club where you can be the new star. This is what Vlahovic is looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Any striker that's going to come in, even Erling Haaland, you're always kind of going to be second to Ronaldo until he moves on. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer. I feel like there's a lot of things that are up in the air with United, even with goalkeepers. We spoke last time and you were saying that Dean Henderson really does need first team football and he really will be looking for that move. Is there any updates on him about where he's going to move? Will it be a loan? Will it be a permanent deal? And do you see him waiting until the summer, or will he push this move even in the January transfer window?
No, what I'm told is that Dean Henderson is prepared to leave also in January. So if a proposal will arrive in January and it's a good proposal for the player and of course, for the club, he will be prepared to say yes. So the plan is so clear for Dean Henderson. He wants to go and he wants to play and he wants to be a key player for his club. He's respecting Man United. This is important to say because he's always been professional. He knows that David De Gea is doing something fantastic, and this is why he's not creating problems. But I think it's fair for him to go and look for opportunities. What I'm told is that goalkeepers market in January is very complicated. It's not easy to find solutions for goalkeepers in January. So if something will arrive in January, the player will be open to join. We had rumors about Ajax, but I'm told that Ajax are not negotiating with Dean Anderson as of now. So he will look for solutions in January. If it's not going to be January, it will be next summer. But he wants to be a starter. He wants to have his game time. And this is why there are huge chances for Dean Anderson to leave Man United.
Yeah, you can understand it. He's not getting first team football. He needs first team football, and no one can really complain about that situation. It is always hard being a second goalkeeper, especially to the likes of David De Gea. Another second string player that has been struggling to get into the first team. He's had some appearances, but he usually is a bench player for us, is Jesse Lingard. According to David Ornstein, he's not looking for a move in January. He's looking to fight for his place in the Manchester United team. Is this because he knows his contract runs out in the summer? He can move then. He can move on a free. He can get the wages that he would like, and he could move. He has a lot more options. Is Jesse Lingard planning to leave Manchester United on a free in summer, to your knowledge?
I think it's a win-win situation. So if he stays, he will be able to fight for his Man United place, as David reported, and then maybe stay at Man United with a good contract if Ralf Rangnick will decide to offer him a new deal, and if he will decide to stay. If not, he will leave as free agent, and leaving as free agent is always good for players because they are receiving a lot of money from this kind of move, more than when you move as normal transfer. So it's a win-win situation. It's true that Newcastle approached him. Newcastle want just Lingard. They contacted him, so they have his name in the list. But at the moment, they know that the player is not accepting as of now, a move in January. So this is why the situation is still quiet around him, and there are possibilities for him to stay at Man United. It will be so important to see what Ralf Rangnick will decide, because all these players, Lingard, but many others, are waiting for the final say from Ralf Rangnick. And I think this feeling will be key to understand if at the end of the market Lingard will stay. But the expectation is for him to fight for his place. So at the moment, he is not answering to this Newcastle attempt to sign him.
Finally, just before we let you go, because we know that you're extremely busy, you're very in the know about Amad Diallo, who signed for us quite a while ago now. I think it was last summer, and he looks like he needs a loan move. Does that seem like something that is going to happen? Because I think with a loan, he could turn into a great player, but is the loan going to happen possibly in January, possibly the summer? Is there any news on that?
Yes, I think it will be in January, also because it was a done deal with Feyenoord in the summer. It was done. So with the medical, it was booked, it was almost ready. And then he was injured in the last training session with Man United. So it's been really unlucky. He needs to play. He deserves to play, and he knows about it, and they know in the club about it. And this is why I expect him to go on loan in January. Many clubs want him from different countries. So a lot of options to be decided with his agent and with Man United. So it will take some time. But I see Amad Diallo living in January as on loan, because this is what he deserves, and this is what is also good, I think, for Man United to have the player back with a different experience.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We got a lot of good information there. We always have a good interview when you're on here. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure the chat love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Happy holidays, and thanks to you all. Bye.
Happy holidays. Bye. So, guys, that was Fabrizio's interview with me today. He gave us a lot of good information, I thought. I mean, I wasn't expecting to get the amount that we did, and it's interesting to know what targets Manchester United are going for, and that there does look like there is a chance that we are going to sign a midfielder in January. It looks like it's going to be a defensive midfielder. We know this. Finally, we've been waiting for seasons on seasons now, some of us many seasons, for a defensive midfielder. We knew it should have happened in summer. We knew it should have happened the summer before that. It's not happened. Finally, in January, it's looking like it's going to happen. And do you know what, guys? It just shows that when Ralf Rangnick comes in, he's had that squad for how long now? 3 or 4 weeks. And he's already decided in January, my first target is a defensive midfielder, because he knows football, he knows the squad, and he knows that is an area that massively needs developing. We've got Fred and McTominay, 2 players that have kind of been decent. And when I say decent, better than they were, which was very bad. Like, let's be honest, guys, they weren't great. They weren't great under Ollie. They were quite horrendous, and they were getting stick every week. Since they've come into Ralf Rangnick's system of the 4-2-2, they've played well together. Fred particularly kind of excelling in that position. But 2 defensive midfielders that fit that system is not enough when you're wanting to play a whole season. And thinking about going into the Champions League, into the FA Cup, you're going to need more options. I mean, personally, for me, I think we need two defensive midfielders. That's not going to happen because Manchester United aren't going to buy 2 defensive midfielders in January. But the fact that we could even be getting one in, for me, is really, really exciting. And do you know what? Kamara, for me, does seem like a very good option. Kamara from Marseille, he's young. He's the type of player that Ralf Rangnick he's the type of player that Ralf Rangnick would play in that system. He's the type of player that could fit next to Fred. He gets into challenges. He's very young. He can come into the team straight away, I think, and develop. And I also think when you're looking at Scott McTominay next to Fred, you don't really need someone of massive quality to come in and be an improvement. And I don't mean any disrespect, but this Kamara, he could come into this team and he could adapt to the Premier League. He's very physical, which helps when adapting to the Premier League. And I do think next to Fred, he would really build that partnership with him, and I think there'd be a really good partnership moving forward. And I do think that is a player that Manchester United are really kind of looking at, and I do think that's a deal that could happen in January Fabrizio's not going to come in here and say it's definitely going to happen, because everything's all up in the air, and obviously he doesn't know for certain. But from what he was saying about us being appreciative of Kamara, there's many names on the list, but he's up there. I do think he's a player that we'll massively be looking at, especially when he mentioned that Hadara, there's been no contact. We know Hadara is appreciated by Ralph Rangnick. We know that, we've heard that, and we know that Hadara appreciates Manchester United. But the fact there's been no contact, and he kind of seemed to cool that rumour down when we're on the interview together. For me, Kamara seems like the person that we really seem to be interested in, a young defensive midfielder that can break down play, take the ball out from the back, and also is very, very physical. I think he could work brilliantly next to Fred, and I would like to see that partnership move forward. We know that Ralph Rangnick does want them two defensive midfielders in that system. We've seen that from the past. We've seen it from what he said in interviews, and it'll be extremely interesting to see who we go for and how they adapt into that system. I think Fred's here to stay. I think he's going to stay, but Scott McTominay, I think he might drop down to the bench because he just doesn't go to that level. His passing can be a little bit off sometimes. His passing accuracy isn't great. Sometimes he gets caught out of position. Sometimes he'll get turned, giving away too many fouls. These are things that you've really got to look at. And I think Kamara coming into that team will really kind of build that defensive line up and help at the back as well, because we know he can drop into a centre back. That's not going to happen, but his defensive output is very, very good from what I've seen. Not seen much of him from what I've been looking at this morning over the past week since we've been linked to him. I've really been impressed from what I've seen, but guys, I don't want to get fooled by them YouTube compilation clips that a lot of people can get fooled by sometimes. I mean, you could put a compilation clip up of anyone and you think they're a world-class player, so we'll just have to see what happens. But I do definitely think that is an interesting target that we're moving into. And also thinking about the striker situation, for me, it's very interesting that, as Fabrizio said, people aren't giving Manchester United enough credit when it comes to Edinson Cavani. Edinson Cavani is still in contract. He's still in contract with Manchester United. And when you think about it like that, why would Manchester United turn around and say, yes, Cavani, you can terminate your contract and go to Barcelona. We'll lose a world-class striker that we have on contract till summer anyway. Yes, there's the wage, and the wage is big, but we've been paying this wage for a long time now. We're not going to get another striker in January. It's very, very unlikely. I do like the look of the Alvarez, for the Argentine that plays for River Plate. But let's be honest, I don't think we're going to take that much of a risk on a striker if we're going to be reliant on a striker till in the Champions League until the end of this season. I think that's something that we would look at in the summer, and we'd kind of take a while processing and thinking about whether he's really going to fit into our team. So why would we let Edinson Cavani go? And Martial, which, I mean, Romano said he's definitely on the move. I didn't think Martial would end up going, but each time that we've spoke to Fabrizio, he said that Martial is definitely wanting out and he's 100% trying to get that move. Juventus seem like a big option for him, even possibly Newcastle. They've been knocking on the door for Jesse Lingard as well. But Martial wants out. He wants to play. So I think he's gone. I think that's what we kind of got confirmed there, that Martial is gone from Manchester United in the January. Think of that what you will. Let me know in the comments what you do think about Anthony Martial leaving. Has he been worth it over the last five years that we've had him? Let me know. But he's going to be leaving. So to let Edinson Cavani leave as well, that gives you Ronaldo, Rashford, Sancho and Greenwood that can possibly play them roles. Because another juicy bit of information that we got there, Amad Diallo will be going on loan in January. The deal was almost done in summer till he got injured. So it'll be nice to know that we can see Amad playing some first team football and really kind of getting to grips with playing first team football that he was getting to grips with in Atalanta. But we'll really get to see him shine now, and we can watch him play for a different team under loan. So that'll be interesting to see. So realistically, you've got Sancho, who's a winger, Rashford, who's a winger, and then Ronaldo and Greenwood. He's going to want to play two up front. We've seen that he's been playing Rashford at the moment. He seems to be a little bit out of form. Seems like he doesn't complement Ronaldo too well. And then you've got Greenwood, who, what if he gets injured? Can we rely on him every game? I think he's the top striker, but he's only young. So are you going to let Edinson Cavani go when they're the only options you're going to have? I mean, they're great options to have, but where they're the only options you're going to have moving into the Champions League, FA Cup, and the second half of the season? I don't think you do. I think you just take your chances, play him when he's not injured, even though Edinson Cavani does want to leave. And I've seen people saying, give the same treatment to Edison Cavani that you're giving to Martial and Paul Pogba. And I understand that point. I'm not giving Pogba any stick for leaving. I'm not giving any stick for Martial for leaving. If you don't want to be here, go. But with Edison Cavani, we know he's going in the summer anyway. He's a top striker. We've seen how well he plays with Cristiano Ronaldo. We've seen the way he turns up in big games. We've seen the way he gives us something that nobody else does. We've seen the way that he's had an impact on Greenwood and his link-up play with Greenwood. I do think when you're looking at it, you just need to keep Cavani on, playing when he's not injured. And he's the type of player, even if he is looking forward to leaving, even if he is trying to get a move, if you play him in a game, he will turn up. He has a great mentality. He's got such good professionalism, and he will give you everything in a game. So I have no worries about him wanting to leave and then us playing him and him not putting that last ditch tackle in. I don't think he's that type of player, and I think he will turn up for us. And I do not see Edison Cavani leaving in January. I just don't see it. What I do see happening is us getting in a defensive midfielder. Romano said that hasn't been finalised yet. I said to him, hopefully we'll have him on a show and he can tell us exactly who it is. I'll be making sure that I do get the name for you guys. And we'll probably see some players leave. We'll probably see Dean Henderson leave. We'll probably see Martial leave. And it was interesting, actually, because I was speaking about it with Adam, Levin and Mark on the Sunday night show about what players we see leaving. And I think that Romano interview kind of confirmed it for us. Jesse Lingard won't be going anywhere. He's looking to fight for his place at Manchester United, basically running down his contract and giving himself more options in the summer, which is, do you know what? If that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. And I don't blame him for that. If he wants to have more options than just Newcastle, which seems to be the only option at the moment, with the chance that they might go down, then fair play. When he went to West Ham, he was in a team that was fighting for top 4 Europa League football. They were playing very attacking football. I mean, we know what David Moyes is like, but when they did counter-attack, they counter-attack well, and it gave Jesse Lingard a lot of opportunities to show his skills and show his talent. At Newcastle, I do think he'd do well, but maybe he's worried it's not kind of the caliber of team where he can really shine and prove himself to get into the England team. I think he could, but it seems like Jesse Lingard isn't going for that Newcastle move, and I don't blame him, to be honest. I wouldn't want to go down and get relegated. And when he runs down his contract, he's going to have a lot more options. I wanted to quickly touch on someone actually that I do think is an interesting target for us. So, as Romano said, we're not sure what striker we're going to get in the summer. It seems like we are going to get a striker. It seems like a striker is kind of on the list that Manchester United are going for position-wise. It really seems to be heating up that position and different players that we're getting linked to. But as Romano rightly did say, each manager is going to want a different type of striker, whether we get Pochettino, whether we get Ten Hag, whether Ralph Rangnick stays. They all like different types of strikers. As he said, Erling Haaland is always going to be everyone's type of striker. He's just a striker that no one would ever turn down. He's such top quality. But as Romano said, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to get him. And when you think about it, I know Mark has his opinion on this. I have my opinion on this. I'm sure you guys have your opinions on this. Is Erling Haaland, he's worth the money he's going to get, but is it worth spending all that money on Erling Haaland and then not having much budget left to kind of help out the rest of the squad and fulfill positions we need elsewhere, and also inviting Mino Raiola back into the club when Paul Pogba's probably going to leave with Paul Pogba? Being that said, you've got to look at the pros and cons. You're spending a lot of money. It's a massive wage. You're going to give Mino Raiola a massive signing on fee, but you're getting a player of top quality that will score goals and will help the team massively. But you guys, do you think it's worth it? You're substituting money for other positions in the summer. You're inviting Raiola back into the club and he's getting a massive sign-on fee. It's a massive wage, but you get Erling Haaland at the end of the day. So I just want to know if you guys actually think that's worth it. I'm on the fence about it. I am sitting on the fence today. I'm not sure whether it is worth it or not. I love Erling Haaland and I think he'd be a great addition to the team. And if he had a different agent, I'd be saying do everything to go all out for him. And knowing Manchester United, knowing our past with big signings, big names, I do think Manchester United I wouldn't say be stupid enough, because everyone's going to be doing this, but I think they'll throw everything but the kitchen sink at getting Erling Haaland. I think they'll offer him the wage. I think they'll pay the release clause. I think they'll pay the sign-on fee. They will be wary about bringing Mino Raiola back into the club, but it's shirt sales for Manchester United. It's a massive name, and he will improve the side, and it's someone that Ralph Rangnick, who we know is going to go into the constituency role, even if he doesn't become manager, does really want, and he's his number one target. So we'll have to see what happens. I can see Manchester United going for him. Whether we'll get him is a different story. But then I look at all the teams that are going for him, and I don't think anyone will offer a wage as big as we will. So, and we know that money is massively important to Mino Raiola. I'm not sure about Erling Haaland, but he'll be looking for a massive wage, and Manchester United are the type to offer that. And if we're in the Champions League as well, rebuilding, it's a good project. So we'll have to see on the Erling Haaland front. If not, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I do think this Alvarez, the 21-year-old from River Plate, does look like a very, very good option. I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about him, because I really don't. I've only just started looking at him recently. I mean, I don't think many people knew about him, but I've spoke to a lot of people that I know that really, really know football worldwide and do look at all the scouting options and everything like that. And this guy is meant to be a top talent. All the clubs are looking at him: Manchester United, Juventus, Bayern Munich. He's one of the biggest hot prospects now in South American football. He's netted 24 goals and 15 assists in 46 games. His release clause is just 17 million. If Manchester United wanted him, they'd have to pay that. If it went into the last 10 days of the January transfer window, they'd have to add another 4 million. So that's 21 million. When you're looking at one of the hottest prospects in South American football, and you're looking at a player that's really young, he's been very well scouted. A lot of the big clubs are after him. You've got to think to yourself, is it worth paying that 21 million just to get him into the club and see what he's about? You look at the price that you're going to have to pay for I mean, I know you can't compare them at all, but the price you're going to have to pay for Haaland, the wages you're going to have to pay for Haaland, the agent you've got invited to the club, but then on the other hand, you've got a really young talent that would be so happy to come to a top club. I'm not saying Haaland's not going to give everything, but he's got the world at his feet. This guy is young. He's willing to come in and prove himself in Premier League football, prove himself in the Champions League. He's not going to be as much money. He gives us options to spend, money to spend elsewhere. And he can play on the wing. He can play as a centre forward. I do think this is something that Manchester United should really be looking at. It's not that much money. I mean, it is, but it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. And it adds another young talent that Manchester United are famous for that we can develop. And his talent, looking at him, it seems he's got a very high ceiling. And I do think that is a move that Manchester United should be looking at, because what frustrates me the most is that we always go for people once they've been realised, once they've been established for a long time. And we just always do this. We don't ever get the player like Leicester do and develop them and make them into that top talent. And this is what we need to do now. We need to buy these players, young players that are a little bit under-established but still look like they've got a very high ceiling, have got a lot of potential, and then turn them and progress them into a top talent that is worth a lot of money, that is very well established in world football. And that's something we really need to do. I mean, we did it with Ronaldo. We've done it with people in the past. We've not done it for a very long time. And Leicester are renowned for doing this. And I'd like to see Manchester United getting these players in and kind of developing them. And we know that Ralph Rangnick is famous for this. So I absolutely see this happening. Romano said if we were going to get a defensive midfielder, we would be getting a defensive midfielder that is a cheaper option. And I see us doing that for the striker position as well, unless obviously the Haaland deal does progress. I could also see Manchester United going for that. It'd be the only striker I think we'd really kind of pay all that money for now. But it's going to be interesting, guys, moving forward with Ralph Rangnick in charge, the way he likes to do his business, the way he likes to get a player on the first or second contract, the way he likes to bring through a young player. And it would be really interesting. The links with Tielemans as well, guys. Don't forget about that. Romano really dropped that in there, saying that don't be surprised if United go for Tielemans and a lot of other top clubs. He's not signed his new contract. He's a massive talent. He's a baller in the midfield, guys, honestly, for Leicester. I know you all know that. He's so good. So that little bit of information as well is really interesting, because I think Tielemans, especially if Pogba leaves, would be a great replacement, and I think he'd be an amazing midfielder in Manchester United's midfield, in Manchester United's midfield and in Manchester United's team going forward. But anyway, guys, we've got Romano coming up on the show as well, up until the January transfer window. I'll be on the fan forum on Wednesday. I'll be able to wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you for being on this interview with me today. Thank you for going through it with me today, giving me a lot of help in the comments, letting me know what you want to know from Fabrizio. And we'll just have to see what develops around Manchester United in January. And we'll get to hear more from Fabrizio as the weeks goes on. And I'll get that name for the defensive midfielder that he kind of promised us. So I'll see you on the next one, guys. And thank you for listening with me today and being with me on this interview. And have a good rest of your day. I'll see you later.